Kisos is a singer, songwriter, music producer, performer, and live streamer who is based in New York City. Since 2018, they have released 3 EPs, including last year's Autophagia. I met with the artist himself to discuss their more recent stream of singles and see where they are in the process of their tentative debut album. I was noticing I was on your Bandcamp,
Uh-huh.
doing a deep dive in your discography, and I've noticed that you're very much an open book when it comes to each individual song and the
Mm,
projects like regarding it, like describing why Autophagia is titled the way it is, going
mm.
down the track list, telling us information about each track. So I'm kind of interested to know like what is it that motivates you as an artist to want to deliver all of that information to the listeners?
I think it's many different things. I'm a blabbermouth, number one. I'm ADDer, number two. So I feel like everyone has to know every detail of my brain. And I just love that one from other artists. Like when I go to a live show, I'm like, I want to know the story behind every single song. I understand that it's a lot of the time it's like, okay, but like my live shows, I'm like, I need to do a better job of like making this hybrid because literally I'm like, okay, now this next one is about this and talking for like a minute. And everyone's like, okay, like this is cool, but like the vibe's getting broken up. But I just feel like, I mean, a tagline that I've used for my music for so long is music to break your heart and heal your soul because I feel like and every artist, most artists can relate, like music is healing, music is therapy. And I feel like, especially in some of my earlier music, it was very, very symbolic, or like a name like autophagia, which is like not even really used, but like technically is a word. So it's like some of these things, I was in my Bjork, bag, and I was like, I need to explain this a little bit because I want people to know what this means. Like when I'm singing about deatomize me, it means like I kind of want to and but someone listening might just be like, I don't know what this means. So maybe I'm holding people's hand too much, but I just like to tell the story and at least have an avenue for that for the people like me who just like are hungry for all that.
Yes, and as a big fan of music, I do love hearing the artist's perspective on
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I was very fortunate enough to get to see you perform live. I don't know if I
Yeah.
ever showed you this picture
You
we took.
did. It's so cute.
Um, and so going back to your performances, how do you prepare for those? Because you're very quirky on stage, very playful on stage. You bring a lot of energy. And I remember when I saw you that night, you were one of the most memorable acts because of just when you get on that stage, you are one with the audience. And so I have
Hmm.
to know, how do you prepare for that?
Thank you so much. I got some chills because I'm actually like a huge overthinker. And pretty much every time I do a show, I don't really come away with new people like following me or like paying attention. I do feel like I make a good connection with the people who are there already for me, but like I really struggle with like connecting with the audience. So I just appreciate hearing that. Well, I guess I don't struggle. I feel like I'm struggling to connect with the audience, or like I feel like I'm connecting, but it's not enough. And then, you kind of like spiral, like, what am I doing wrong? But in terms of shows, I used to be so nervous that I would like be on the verge of throwing up and like shaking so bad. Like the first, I don't know, 3, 4 performances. And honestly, what helped me was realizing, because in school, I was like, I didn't like school, but I was really good at it. It just kind of like came naturally. Like, you tell me what assignment to do, I'm scared of getting in trouble, so I'm gonna get an A. So I, but at a certain point, I didn't really have to try. And then I kind of carried that into my like music career, especially live shows where I was like, oh, like I know I can sing and I know my own lyrics. So like, how much do I really have to practice? And then I would get up there and be like so nervous. And the more I practiced, the more confident I got, and then I like don't really get nervous anymore, which is really cool to go from like the one extreme to the other. I definitely feel like adrenaline. I'm not gonna say I don't get nervous at all, but I'm not like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? I'm just like, okay, I've put in my time preparing, a lot of time preparing. I could have put in even more time, but like I'm very happy. I'm like confident I can hit these notes. I mean, sometimes stuff happens anyway. And honestly, just that. And I think kind of like you asked in your first question about like, I just want to, I have a lot of unbridled energy and emotion. So I want to like express that to the audience. And I think that's what I'm still trying to hone is like, how do I do that in a little more controlled way so it's a little more impactful instead of just like blasting 360 degrees around me. But yeah, I just want everyone to have a good time. I want anyone who's like secretly going through any of the things that I'm talking about to feel seen and heard, and obviously just like have fun, especially also because a lot of my music is more like gloomy dark. So I'm like, let me like break this up a little bit and, you know, like, yeah, just like get through it and hold their hands and be like, okay, whoo, that was a dark one, but we did make it through, you know?
Well, I find it interesting that you describe your music as dark and gloomy because as someone who's most familiar with this project,
Mm.
I find it to be a very polished pop sound. I think the hooks are always catchy and
Thank
the
you.
production is phenomenal.
You are
But
gassing me up. Oh!
going into Sludge, your most
Mm.
one of your more recent singles,
Mm-hmm.
that is definitely dark and gloomy. And that is also a song that you didn't really provide a whole lot of background information on when
Mm.
you released it. So I would love to kind of know more about what brought you to wanting to transition into that kind of style.
Yeah, to be honest, I've had a lot of, there's certain singles that I've just kind of wanted to do different things. I've always kind of done different things, and I don't know, I just get, you know, I just fall in love with the sound and then I want to try something different. So with Sludge, originally I was just like, I don't even remember. I think I just like thought of the word and I was like, okay, that would make a really cool song. And then obviously kind of like building the sound around it. Like, what would sludge sound like? What does it mean? And that's why it turned into this kind of like industrial pop, freaky, creepy, but also like rocky, like screamy. You know, there's like a lot of creamy, screamy, just so many different adjectives that I haven't been able to use for my music before. Although there are like hints of it, like transience, I say is like very similar to sludge in some of like the beats and like thoughts behind it, but sludge is like a little more developed. But sludge also partially why I didn't say too much about it is because it was definitely targeted at like one or two people. So I was trying to make it very like, oh yes, it's just about, you know, like being taken advantage of. And but also it was kind of a hard concept to describe, honestly. So what sludge is basically when you're in a relationship with someone, doesn't have to be love, it can be friendship, it can be family, it can be whatever, a coworker, a boss. And this other person, their negativity, their anger, all of that seeps into you and changes you as a person. It's not just like making you depressed, it's making you maybe more paranoid, more angry like them. And it's kind of like isolating you from people you love because you're changing. And yeah, so that's why I say like I'm drowning in your sludge because I'm kind of like covered in this and being taken over by it. So I try to, with all of my music, even something as dark as sludge, still provide like glimmers of like light at the end of the tunnel or like overcoming that. So that's why verse one is very like, oh, like I'm under the gutter, I'm covered in your sludge, like I'm destroyed right now. But verse two's like, now you're in the dumpster, girl. Like I'm moving on, I'm on to you. And then I say that the bridge is kind of like exposing that a little bit more, and then the finale, because it goes back to like I'm covered in sludge. Like it's not a happy ending necessarily, but I think it's kind of like, okay, I got that all out of me, but I am still covered in this sludge. I still have to do this emotional work to like clear this out of me and like get back to the person that I truly am. And I really did. I had to go to a lot of therapy. That song and my song that just came out today, Unbothered,
We'll
are,
get to it.
we'll get to it, but they're kind of like sister songs in that way, where it's like Sludge is like, you know, in how I was feeling when I was in this relationship and just like just getting out of it. And then Unbothered is like, okay, I'm back. You're gone.
And so you had told me in our messages that
Hmm.
Sludge and Unbothered were more of droplet singles for you. They
Hmm.
weren't part of a project. So I have two questions to go
Hmm.
along with that. One, were they initially part of a bigger project? And two, do you have plans for an upcoming album? Because I know that you did have plans, but you had told me that things had changed. And so I
Things have
want to know
changed. Yeah.
what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, so definitely. I had maybe like 4 or 5 songs that I was starting with an EP, but I was like, you know what? I've been making music for like 9 years at this point, like literally, like 9 years, 2 weeks ago or something. And so I was like, you know what? It's time for me to stop being scared of making an album. In my head, I was always like, it's just such a romantic thought to like have your debut album be nominated for a Grammy. So I was like, I don't want to do an album until I'm like further along and I feel like that's more realistic. But recently I was like, girl, I'm getting old and like I'm gonna keep making music forever. And like I'm not old, but you know what I mean? Like 30, I'm gonna be 34 next month. So in the
Yeah,
music industry,
and like you said, you've been making music for 9 years.
9 years. So it's like
Yeah.
no albums, like in a decade. That's kind of like you're holding yourself back. So yes, I was originally gonna do an album and I had a big concept for it. It was going to be called something like either Maybe I'm the Villain or I'm the Villain, I'm the Victim, where I was gonna have every song kind of be like a different thing that like a different trait that people see you as because you're not good in everyone's story, you're not bad in everyone's story. And I think that it was just something that I was talking through in therapy. And I was like, this is really interesting. You know, like we're all the villain to someone, we're all the victim to someone. Um, and so each song was going to be, I didn't know exactly how I was going to lay it out, but I have like a list. Let me see if I can find it quickly while I talk, but I'm really bad at multitasking. But I had a list where I didn't know if I was gonna do kind of like code names or like kind of like I don't know if you're familiar with Noah Davis, for example. He
I don't
sings
think
like
so.
R&B and a lot. He had like an album where it was kind of like the songs were called like the Crybaby song. I'm kind of making I don't know the exact titles anymore, but like the Crybaby song, the like Shake Your Ass song, the Money song, like things like that.
Okay.
So I was gonna do something like that potentially. Um, where each thing was going to be like, maybe I'm the villain, maybe I'm the victim, maybe I'm a stalker, maybe I'm, like positive things too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I can't find it in my notes. Maybe I'm, you know, perfect. Maybe I'm everything. Maybe I'm worthless. Maybe I'm whatever. And just like a 10 song or so thing like that. So Sludge, I don't know what Sludge was going to be. Unbothered today would have actually been Maybe I'm the Villain, I think. And then I think actually Sludge would have been like Maybe I'm the Victim. And then, yeah, I had some other songs where there was a song I wrote that I called Swim Fan because it was kind of inspired by like those stalker thriller movies from like 90s and 2000s. And it like name dropped different like movies and yeah, so that was gonna be like maybe I'm a stalker, maybe I'm whatever. And a couple of those songs are actually going to be on what will become an album that will hopefully come out or start like maybe a first single like a year from now. So
Okay.
we are still working on a debut.
Yes. And so, as someone who has been keeping up with the Kisos project, I understand that your best friend had passed away about a
Hmm.
year ago, and that did affect a lot of the production of your music. And
Uh-huh.
you had shared with me sort of a playlist of songs that you've been working on, and it
Yeah,
seemed like they were all sort of
sad.
related to that subject.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yes, and so I'm kind of curious to know, like, what direction are you think you're headed into right now with the Kisos project as a result? And is there anything us fans can do to support you in the process as well?
Absolutely. So, yes, so went through a traumatic event and definitely, you can't not write when something like that happens. I'm more of like, I write a ton of poetry and then like later I like convert it to songs is kind of my process a lot of the time. And so right now, the way this project is kind of laid out, I'm hoping to have like 12-ish songs. The way it's laid out is there's going to be a few songs that would have maybe been on that other album
Hmm.
that are basically what I'm trying to do with this album is make it feel like you were living at the same time as me going through that. And I've done that. I kind of did that with Autophagia on a smaller scale, and even my EP before that, which has been scrubbed from streaming services, where each song is in a way like a different stage of grief, where starting out with like the denial and then the anger and depression and all of those things. Um, so with this album, I have like a couple songs in the beginning that are just whatever like existential things would have come out. Like the first track is basically about me getting older in music and being like, is it pathetic or is it kind of like iconic? I say romantic, that I'm like still doing this, and still like refusing to give in despite lack of monetary or like notable success. I feel successful in my heart. I also want more. Um, but there's a couple songs like that, and then I try to make like a happy song appear where I'm just like, you know what, I have faith, everything's gonna be good because it was gonna be. I was also planning to make this next album like very happy, very dancey. I was like, you know what, I've been sad for so long, not necessarily depressed, but just like I wanted to stop being so inspired by sadness and darkness and like go in a different direction. But after my friend died, who I literally like first friend of my life, first person I met in that I remember meeting since we were like 3 years old. Um, I was like, okay, I'm obviously going to be writing about this. And it feels more like an impactful debut album too, where I'm like, this isn't something where I will feel like basically no matter what, I will feel successful releasing this. I will not feel like I failed because it's just a pure outpouring of emotion. It's what music should be. I feel like it's very raw. And yeah, so it's kind of first couple songs are what would have been. Then there's going to be just a tiny transition. It's just going to hit you in the face with a very dark song. The first song I wrote that for this album that was called I Want to Die Too. I wanna die too. I wanna lie next to you. Because I just felt so terrible and it just felt like, what's the point? Like I just whatever I could do to like be with him again, I would do it. I mean, clearly not, because yeah, and he wouldn't want me to either. I say that in another song later where I'm like, I know that if I ever did something like that, you'd beat my ass like back to life from heaven and be like, get out of here. Why are you wasting this? I didn't want to leave. You left on purpose. I will destroy you. So it kind of goes through that process of me like dealing with the pure just devastation. Then it goes into like kind of a transitional song called There Is No Ending, where I went to the beach like last year, soon after he died. And I was just like standing in the ocean and I was like, whoa, like when you're looking out at the water, like it doesn't end. Like what I'm looking at, this water is endless. Like it's infinite water on the earth. Like it's finite on the earth, but you know what I mean? Like I
Right.
could, if I'm in the water, I will stay in the water. It's not a lake. It's not whatever. Um, and around that time, I also had a extremely vivid dream about my friend that I call more like a visit. And I feel like that's when I slowly started to make more peace with it, when he basically told me he was like, we are inseparable. Like we grew up together our whole lives. Like everything that you are, I am too. And everything that I am, you are too. And I was just like, wow, that was really deep. He was like shaking me by the shoulders, like looking me in the eyes. And that was after my like darkest day where I was just like, it's over, I'll never be happy again. I'm like fire alarm, emergency, calling every loved one. And yeah, then having that happen and waking up and being like, oh, okay, like all the love I'll ever give anyone is imbued with him. Every smile I give like reminds me of him, and Every time someone smiles at me, it reminds me of him. And that's when I slowly started to like, okay, I'm still sad, but I'm like making it through and trying to at least put a few songs on this album that will like honor the happy times we had and not just be
Right.
devastation. Because that was such a small piece of our lives together. Like when I'm 60, only then will it be like the same amount of time without him as with him, or 63. So I'm like, I don't want to focus on that too much. Um, but that's also partly why, not to talk too much about this next part, but partly why I'm writing a book as well, because I want it to be like partners with the album. And the book is more like the happy, our childhood growing up. I'm not necessarily a writer in that way, but I just wanted to do it for myself. And I'm also like, let me share this with other people. I just want to share stories about him. And we did have some funny stories. And so I'm kind of like, that's the happy, the album's the sad. There will obviously be some crossover, but I like feel like this is kind of like my magnum opus project, where this is actually going to be like the biggest project of my life, the most important one. And then after that, it's like, okay, now I really can just do whatever. Because this is the big one. I mean, God forbid, because if I lose someone else, who knows, Lord? I'm not even Christian, Catholic, whatever. I'm still crossing. Jesus help me.
And yeah, that is really tough. And I wish I know exactly what you're going through, but I also don't know exactly what you're going through because
Right.
I also lost a childhood best friend, but I'm also, almost 10 years younger than you as well.
Mm,
So it is, I can't imagine what even an extra decade would have done
mm,
in terms of grief. So, to return to a bit of a happier note and
mm-hmm.
return to present day, your new single, Unbothered, came out
Yeah.
today. Where
Yeah.
did it come from? What are your plans with it? And yeah.
I'm gonna give you the Wendy Williams, the Perez Hilton exclusive
Okay.
on this one, because I try to be very cryptic. I don't want to like start beef, even though it's already been started by another person. But it also is old news at this point. So, I'm not trying to fully kick the bear and wake the beast and all of that, but I was doing the Quarantine tour in 2022 during the pandemic. I was
Mhm.
doing Quarantine, like a series of live stream shows where it was like a music video showcase for queer artists. And then in 2022, me and my business partner at the time decided to make it a in-person tour. And we were like, this is going to be great. But the cracks in our friendship grew and grew and grew and got worse and worse and worse to a point where I was just so stressed. Like, half the things he said about me, I'll give him half, are true. Like, he was like, you're lazy, you suck. And I'm like, I am being really lazy about this, but it's because I hate working together. Like, I'm hating working on this. I'm dreading it every day. Like, I'm just procrastinating, boots the house down, tea gaga, because it's just like, yeah. I mean, I also did a lot of good work. Let me not discount myself too much. That's why I said 50%. Um, but yeah, so at the end of it, last year, I think it was last year, like he released a track about me, and I was just like, ooh, it took all my strength to like not respond and react because it was very caricature. It was very blown out of proportion. It was very just like, it was also very mean. Like it wasn't a smart diss track. Like I feel like mine's smart. It was just kind of like mean. And so I was like, you know what? Okay. Because I was also like trying to be friends with him, and a diss track would be fine. But then there were like other little things later where I was like, you know what? I think it's like not healthy for us to be connected at all. So like blocked each other, and then recently he messaged me because when Sledge came out, I posted one singular video that nobody but him knew was about him. And he was very unhappy about it. And then when I said I wasn't taking it down, um, or that I was gonna still not, he didn't necessarily ask me to take it down, but he was like, please don't post more things like that. Like I'm like finally over this pain and it's bringing things up for me. And I was like, I can respect that, However, we're blocked from each other. Number one. Number two, I'm not naming and shaming you. Number three, you did a whole release cycle, but I can't. So, and I, no, you did a whole release cycle, but I can't post one little Instagram reel. Hmm. I don't know. It's feeling a little unbalanced. So, because Unbothered was going to stay in the vault. But then after that, and then he started saying some nasty things, which I did screenshot, but they are deleted. People sent them to me. So I was like, you know what? I blocked him even more. I blocked him on email. Girl, I just did it all because I was like, we
Didn't know you could
cannot.
even block emails.
See, yeah, well, it like just sends them to spam. But yeah, so he wasn't happy. He said some nasty things, and they were unequivocally, unmistakably like nasty. So I was like, you know what? Unbothered was honestly gonna stay in the vault. I was just gonna keep working on my album. But I was like, this song is really fun and really cute and really good. And I think it's very smart. So I was like, let me bring it out and just like clear my record one more time and just like let it be. And if he wants to say I just wanted to get the last word in, then maybe he's right. But if he gets the last word in, I won't even pay attention. So
Well, hey, Unbothered is a great song. It's catchy, it's
thanks.
fun. It brings back the old poppy style that you had been doing. So I'm
Mm,
glad that it at least got to see the light of day.
yes.
As mentioned in the interview, Kisos recently dropped their single Sludge, which I highly suggest listening to if you haven't already. The single Unbothered was also released on the same day we recorded this interview, and that is also a fun track. Keep Kisos on your radar for future updates regarding upcoming releases, and thank you for watching.